Hello, beauties, and welcome back to the Bumpy Bones Locksport channel. I want to apologize for not having uploaded content recently. For the past few weeks, I've been having a really hard time managing my pain levels, and I think I'm becoming tolerant to my pain meds. So it's been really difficult for me to get back into lock picking, especially with locks that I haven't recorded yet. I'm working on my brown belt, so I've been working on this Go P for a while now. And a lot of the brown belt level locks or and higher are starting to become really nuanced in a lot of the picking techniques that you need for them. And when I am just hurting a lot, it's really hard to, like keep proper tension. It's really hard to hold picks sometimes and just feel the clicks and all that. And even just kind of get the angle for the picking and all that. I've been having a really hard time with that lately. Um, and pain also makes it more difficult for me to focus through a video. So I do apologize if I stumble more than I usually do. And tonight's a bit of a bad pain night for me. So I thought I would do a recording about what I do when I get new locks, how I manage my lock collection, and how I manage the keys for my collection. So let's go and get started. And let's start with what I do when I get new locks and how I manage my collection. Now, I use the LPU Belt Explorer to take a look at the locks I want to buy because I'm currently working on my brown belt level lock and I want to make sure that I target locks to different mechanisms. I don't want to be just all pin tumblers, even though that's what I do a lot. I do a lot of pin tumbler locks. But I do want to do dimples. I do want to do sliders. I do want to do the different mechanisms when it comes to locks because I want to expand my skills. And so I'll use the LPU Belt Explorer to kind of help map my journey in different lock types and all that. And also the other reason I use it is, I also want to target different specific locks. Like, for example, the ASSA 600. I want to do the ASSA 600 for my red belt. I want to do the ASSA 700 for my black belt because I did the ASSA 600 or the Max Plus Restricted for my purple belt. And so I want to continue that journey. And so, for example, like I want to work on the ASA 700 black belt, but the keyway I'm not quite familiar with, and all that. So I actually found the blue belt version of the ASA 700 here that I can work with. This has tapered pins, which tapered pins is another thing I have a lot of issues with. So that's going to be a fun one. And I do a lot of my ordering on eBay. And actually, the other thing that I've been kind of been on a binge on is I've been getting a lot of the anchor locks, padlock locks. I absolutely love the anchor locks padlock. I think it's really, really cool. You get different engravings on it, different, brands or different lock brands with it. I've got a bunch of the 802s here. I've got a 834 shielded shackle here. I've got the block padlock version here. I've got a couple of the 510 switch padlocks here. And what's really, really cool about these locks is they've got different cores to them. So, a lot of them take the Scandinavian oval locks, and I absolutely love the Scandinavian ovals. I've got several of them, and so I can actually swap out these ovals really easily. These locks are super easy to disassemble and all of that. There's ones that have the snowman core on them, and so it's super easy for me to just swap out the snowman core in these locks because the mechanism's the same. And so it just makes it so much nicer that I can actually pull out like a snowman core and replace it. Makes it easy to gut, easy to maintain, and all of that. So I've been on a bit of a buying spree when it comes to the Anchor Lost series and all that. And I get a lot of my locks on eBay, and I'll have links to the main sellers I have because I'm super picky about where I get my padlocks, because I want to make sure that, I get padlocks in good condition. When you hit the, excuse me, the brown belt level and higher, the locks can get rather pricey And so I want to make sure that the locks that I'm getting um, are in good condition. I'm a bit of a neat freak when it comes to my locks. And when I get a new lock, especially if it's from a seller I don't know, I will disassemble the lock and I will clean the lock just to make sure that it's in good working order. And there have been some sellers that I get that I've had to really work hard at cleaning the lock, and there are a lot of gunk in the keyway. But I have a couple of sellers online that like Lock Skipper, Adam. I can't pronounce his eBay store. And then there is I sell locks or Galaxy locks. Those are the three main that I'll use. And there are a couple of others. I'll have links in the description. And so yeah, so I use them because I know I will get locks in good condition. And they also sometimes sell some really, really cool locks. Like I got this Alpha lock here. The core on this lock is really funky. It looks easy, but you see that little warding there and you see that little warding there, those completely block the key pins there. So this is I'm really paracentric in that area, and so it's very tight. And so I'm going to have a lot of fun picking this guy. This has kind of like a barrel spool pin in it. And so I'll talk a little bit more about this lock in particular, and about what when I get into what I do when I get new locks. In fact, this is a good segue to go right into that. So, the two newest locks in my collection are actually these guys, the Alpha, and then I got ASSA 700 with the taper pins here. And what I'll do is I'll use the Belt Explorer to really kind of get an idea, about the difficulty or where I want to tackle this. And one reason I got the Alpha is again, it's got the, a Kaba anchor loss 802 core on it. It's a snowman core, so I found that really kind of nice and all of that. Um, but when I looked this guy up on the LPU Belt Explorer, I don't know what belt level this guy is. I don't think it has a belt level because on the Belt Explorer, currently right now they have two. They used to have three. So if we go to the Belt Explorer here and we type in alpha, we'll see that we only have two. We have a blue belt and we have a purple belt. They had a green belt one here, but that and recently has been removed. And if we take a look at the purple belt here, because this is the 7-pin version, on the features we have overmilling. And I actually have this marked in my collection. I actually have to turn that off because I don't think this is that, because this lock here does not have overmilling on it. It is just regular milling with regular key pins. And so, because it doesn't meet all the requirements that they mentioned there, I'm not comfortable tagging it. And what I do when I get a new lock is I will untag it. So, for example, this is the newest lock in my collection. And so I have a label printer that I will print out a little tag that's got the make and model of the lock here. And so I will put this on the body of the lock because especially when I get locks of the same type, like a bunch of the Anchor Locks 802s, it just makes it easier for me to know what I'm grabbing, and I don't always have to then, look at the keyway. Oh, okay, this is the ASSA 700 rather than the 600. It just makes it easier to identify. So I will do that. And then I know this is a blue belt because this has the taper pins in it. And so the other thing that I will do is I will tag the belt cutter if I know it. And so I do that in different ways. When I have padlocks, I have vinyl tape that I will wrap around the shackle. If I do not have enough room to do that, like for example on the 510 here, these shackles are really, really thin, and I tried doing tape around them, and it just doesn't hold. So what I'll do, and I grabbed the wrong one here, because again, this is another alpha, and I'm in the same situation with this one, where it doesn't have the overmilling, so I don't have it tagged with a color. But here I've got a Avis Vitis 1000. I know this is a blue belt, so I have these stickers here that I will put on like the Scandinavian cylinders. I would do, or Scandinavian ovals. I would do my mortisans with them. I would do my European cylinders, and then also kicks with the color dots here. And I got these from 44 Delta. The vinyl tape I've got it in all sorts of colors. And I got this off Amazon as a pack, and it was actually really cheap tape. I mean, it's been holding up really good. So I'll see if I can find a link, and I'll throw a link to this on in the descriptions as well, because I think that this is a good tape to use if you want to mark your locks with belt colors. I did try one point on using like heat shrink with it, but the problem I have with heat shrink is it moves. And I am very picky with how I set up my locks and where I tag the color. Because what I try to do is I always try to tag the color of it if I'm doing it on the shackle on where the retaining pin is. And that's typically where it opens and swings out. And so that way, I know how to orient my lock really quickly when I'm picking it up and putting it in my vise. I don't have to look at, oh, it's upside down or, oh, go twisting it around and all that. I know the orientation of the lock based off of where I have the tape. So what we want to do here, because I haven't done that yet with this guy here, I have a piece of the blue tape right here. And so I know that the retaining clip is right here. So let's go ahead and just add some of the tape here. So I'm just going to wrap this around. And as I wrap it around, I'm going to try to keep it straight. And I'm going to kind of tighten it. It's a vinyl tape, so it does have a little bit of a stretch to it. And just kind of press really hard. And finger snap there, and there we go. All right, so we've got this tag now. Now, the other thing that I will do is I will gut all the locks I get, if I can get. I mean, you get some locks like I've got this really cool American lock, government or yeah, government series barrel lock here. I can't gut this guy. This is not a guttable lock. So in this case, that this is a step that I have to skip. But I can gut this guy, so we will gut this guy in today's video as well. Um, and I'll gut it because there are a couple of things I want to do. Like if I have a European cylinder here, oftentimes these guys have a other half to them, either like a back plating or actually another cylinder on the other side here. And what I'll do with my European cylinders is I will cut them in half, and I do it for two reasons. One, it's easier to store, but the second one is it is easier to gut. I'm trying to gut a European cylinder without cutting it is a pain in the royal butt. And so I don't really have the tools for that. I live in the US, so we don't deal with European cylinders as well. I'm trying to get the plugs and foulers for them. Uh, I got the HUK set for it, but didn't have the front loader in it. And the front loaders that I can get off of like Sparrows or some other vendors that I found are very flimsy, and so they don't hold in place, and so it's just real difficult to um do that. And I've got other things I want to spend my time on, so I just do the easy thing. I cut it, and then the other thing I will do is I will replace the retaining clip if I can. And so what I've got is I have this. I found this on eBay. Actually, I didn't find it. Someone on Facebook found it for me. And this has a lot of really good clips in it. In fact, I would recommend, just getting one of these just to have, because if you do lose the retaining pin, clip, you know, this most likely will fit most locks and all that. And so what I'll do is I'll replace the clips that come in these because typically you get these brass rings and all that, and they can be really difficult to get off. And they will break after like 5 times and all that. So um, I will replace that, or I'll try to grub screw the lock and all that if I can. And I'll do that with the European cylinders and the Scandinavian ovals if I can because I love the grub screws because then I don't have to pull the core out. I can just remove the cap and dump the pins, and then I can remove the core. It makes it a lot easier. Um, there was one lock that I did have to do that. I had to do it on the one of my ASSA 700s here. In fact, that's why I have two ASSA 700s, was because there was a very, very tiny master wafer in this lock, and after I gutted it and I went to put it back together, that teeny tiny master wafer must have fallen out, and I couldn't unlock I couldn't turn the key. And so I am nowhere near ready to get into an ASUS 700 black belt. I need to progressive pin this guy. And so I was able to draw out the caps and grub screw it and recover the lock, so it's fully functioning now. But I got a second one here as a backup in case if I screwed up doing the grub screws and all that, because I do it by hand. I have a hand drill and I'll and drill them out and all that. So it's a fun process and all that. Um, so let's actually take a look at the lock that we got here. So we have the ASUS 700. And what I will do with this here is I will gut it. So let's go ahead and remove the core. And the other reason I do this is because it I want to make sure that the pins that are in this lock are the pins that I want. Now, I learned a very valuable lesson with this lock. Um, what we'll see will happen. I already gutted it, and I got in the habit of when I gut locks of just pulling the core out, and you can't do that with this lock because if I pull this out, I was under the impression that all of the snowman cores will either have a plate up here because I've got that on like the ASA D12 here. There's a plate on top of this guy that holds all the pins in place, or grub screws, which was the other reason I love the snowman cores because a lot of them come with grub screws and all that. Not this guy. This guy, the body of the lock is holding the springs in. And so what I did was I pulled out quickly and I lost springs. The springs just went ping, and found two of them, two of the three that flew out by the time I realized what was happening. And so I had to replace one of the springs. And so one of the springs are a bit different. So we're going to go ahead and just slowly pull this guy out. And the other thing that I learned with doing this was that the retaining clip for this guy falls out as well. And so if I pull this guy out, there's that retaining clip. And so I have the key in here. And what happened was I dumped pins as well, which was not fun. And so I learned to be slower when I am gutting my locks now because I never quite know what is going to happen when I do that. So, anyways, we got this out now. And so let me go ahead and just grab a couple of items here. I want to dump my springs in here. And I can go ahead and dump the retaining clip as well. And let me get my pinning tray and we can start dumping some of the pins here. So here's pin 7. And let's go with 6. Let me get my penny tweezers. and 5, 4, 3, and 2. Yep, and see, this is the other issue that I've got. When I am really hurting, I will fumble every once in a while, but I lucked out on that and I didn't lose any pens, so there's 2 and 1. And that's the other thing, I like this lock, but I hate that the fact that that retaining clip just falls out because it just makes it so much worse getting this guy open. So I always pull the core out because if there is supposed to be milling in the core, I always want to double check that milling to make sure that it's proper milling. This core doesn't have milling because it's the blue belt version, so that's looking good. I always also double check the body of the lock and to make sure that we're good. Now, one thing that I do notice is that there is a potential that I might be able to drill this out a little bit more and insert in a rod here to hold the pins down. I did try to grub screw the caps here, and the grub screws I got are too tall. So I may also try to order smaller or thinner grub screws as well to cap this off just to make sure that, I don't forget when I gut this guy to be real careful not to lose the springs and all that. So the other thing I will do is double check the locking mechanism here, just because I always want to just confirm it. There are times that you do want to be a little bit careful because if I do that, you'll notice a piece falls out. And so I want to make sure that if that does fall out, I know how to orient the lock and all that. Um, and so let me get that back in there. Yep, we're good. Um, so let's go ahead and throw this back together real quick here. So what we're going to do is put the core in there. Let's put pin 1 in. And because this did drop the way it did, I want to make sure that this is actually pin 1. So I might take this, I might make sure that we're kind of there, and then I might find my key, insert my key, and yep, that is pin 1. All right, awesome. So now we can go to pin 2, make sure we have that oriented right, and I am having a hard time with my pinning tweezers. And then pin 3, pin 4, pin 5, pin 6, there we go. And then pin 7. All right, so we got all of those in. Let me grab the retaining clip here, throw that in there just so that I've got that. Drop make sure all the pins are down. And then I just want to make sure. Yep, we are functional. All right. And so what we will do now is throw in our springs. And I'm just going to be real careful because I don't have a lot of replacement springs. All right, so there are all the springs. Now what I'm going to do, I might cheat a little bit. I learned a little trick here. I might grab a shim because what we gotta do now with this guy is get this in there. What's really kind of nice about it is I can insert this up to the first spring there and then let go because the retaining clip will now be held in. And what I can do is put the lock down. I want to try to keep it at an angle because sometimes that body will, or that clip in the back will fall down. And I can just cover the springs with that and slide the lock in. All right, let's go ahead and make sure that it works. I always like double checking before I put the retaining pin or screw back in because if there is an issue, now's the time to correct it. If I close that shackle with that retaining pin in or the retaining screw in there, I'm screwed. So, all right. And there we go. This is back together now. Now what I can do is I can go through and see if I can do some progressive pinning on this to get used to the tempered or tapered pins on this and all that. And I gotta figure out how to do the progressive pinning on this without the grub screws. I might grub screw it so that way I can just throw the snowman core in the vise and progressive pin it that way, then remove the grub screws when I put it back in the lock body. There might be a few things I do with this one, so. But there we go. We've got that all assembled. And what we can do now is take a look at how I manage all my keys. Because as you can see, I've got, quite a decent collection here on my desk. And this is only a fraction of my collection. Um, the locks I have here tend to be like my favorite locks. Like I got my Pride sets here, the ones that have all the different colors and all that. And then I got like my brown belt level locks. I got the locks I think really like and all that. And I actually have to go through this a bit because I am running out of desk space, and this I think is the bane of every collector. Let me know in the comments if you run into this issue as well. And so I just got to figure out, a better way of displaying my favorite locks, and I may make a display for them and all that. So I even got some locks up on my toolbox here. So the main way that I will manage my keys, I do it in two ways. If it's for like the American Lock 1100s, or I got a bunch of them, I'll throw them into a tray here, and I'll try to keep them like these are all my pack lock keys. I'll label my keys if they aren't labeled. These all are stamped, and so oh, that's the other thing I'll do is that if I get like if we take a look at my American locks here, we'll see that there's because this is tagged American Lock and 1100, I don't need to put that on here. So what I did was I tagged the key on this lock, and so that way I can find the keys when I need them and all that. If I only have a couple of locks, I don't do that and all that. The other thing that I'll do as well, and this one I think has the yeah. Um, Sometimes you'll see a date on my locks. That's the date of my first open. I did this a lot when I was beginning my lock picking journey and all that because I really wanted to kind of mark my milestones. Like, hey, this was a tough lock. I got it open on this date. Yay! It was a bit of celebration. I don't do this as much anymore. I'll do it on locks that really give me a really hard time because I really want to remember that. But I have a journal that I'll keep, and I'll do that in another video how I journal my lock picking and all that. But I keep track in a journal when I open these guys, so I no longer tag it on the lock. But that's what the date is on my locks. If you ever see it, and wondering, hey, well, what's that date? That's typically the what that date is. So the other way I'll manage my keys is actually on a key ring here. And yeah, it might be a little bit of a funky way of doing it, but it works for me, and I have a system with this. So I actually have the keys organized by belt color. So I've got my green belt level locks here, or unknown, like with the alpha. I consider that green belt because that's what the green belt one when it was on the Lockpickers United belt system was. It was the unmilled core. And so, I put this in the green belt area because, that was my logic behind it. I got my blue belt level locks here. I've got my purple belt. I got the brown belt, and then I got red belt, and then I got black belt. And so these are the keys that would be for my main locks and all of that. I also have another key ring that has like my medical um, keys in it. So because medical is a bit special to me, I will put those in. I have those in a separate key ring just because I have a bunch of them. And typically those are all the same. They're either blue or purple. I do have a red belt medical M4, so that is a little bit of the exception. And I also have my small format interchangeable my small core interchangeable format locks here as well. And so I've got the operational and core keys here. So for example, it's like I've got a key mark here, medical key mark. And so I've got the control key here. And so I can just grab my key and work with it and all of that. So there's a method to my madness and all of that. So I've got, those are the two main ones for all my pin tumbler locks. I then have one for my dimple locks, and again, it's that same format where I've got, the green belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, red belt, because I do have a couple of red belt ones, and then I have a couple of black belt ones too. So they're my dimple lock keys. And then I also have one for my this detainer locks, and I don't really have this organized like the other ones because I don't have many disc detainer locks, so I organize this with my abloy locks and then the miscellaneous locks over here. So we got that. And then I've got one final one. Well, not the final one, but in terms of this style and all that. And these are my practice locks or my cutaway locks. And so, this key ring right here, these are for all my cutaway pin tumbler locks and all that. And then I've got my cutaway disc detainer locks here. And then I've got like I got a salesman set of a couple of master locks and all that. So here are the keys to that salesman set. I got a one of those multi-pick cutaway locks as well. So I've got the keys for that here. And then also just some keys for some other practice locks I've been setting up and all of that. So this will be my practice lock key ring. So I'll throw all my practice keys on there. And then I've got just kind of like a miscellaneous key ring here that I will throw things on. So it's like I'm going to be doing a video at some point with the U.S. government lock series with the American lock and master lock and all that. So here are all the keys for all my government locks and all that. And then I've got some lever locks here. I've got some challenge locks I've been working on that have the Sparrow keying on it. So I got Sparrow keys here. And then just some other random, vintage locks and the Minwa slider lever locks and all that. So yeah, so that's how I will manage my keys. So the other thing I will do with my keys is I will let me just put some of these away here. And I've got hooks on my desk here that I hang these on so that they're easily accessible to me and all that. But what you'll see on my key as well is I will often tag the color on it. So If we go to the blue belt keys here, you'll notice here is the key for the ASSA 700 that we just did. It came with two keys, so I already tagged one key and put it on my keychain here so I don't lose it. The second key, what I will do is I also have a really cool mug here that I will put all my extra keys in. And so this key here will go in here, and that will go on my shelf, and that's just kind of like a little display item there and all that. So that is what I do when I get new locks. That's how I pretty much manage my lock collection and the keys for my lock collection. So I hope you guys found this video to be informative. As always, do feel free to like and comment on my videos and subscribe to my channel. And I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I will see you all later.